Yeah, first film I saw this week is the latest film from independent filmmaker you probably haven't heard of. It's Steven Spielberg. Yeah, he's had a new film out, hasn't he? It's called Ready Player One. I went and saw it at the weekend because it just came out over here in the UK. Was it any good is the real question. And the short answer, I actually surprisingly quite liked it. And you might sense surprise in my voice because I wasn't expecting to on this one. I saw the trailer for this one when that dropped, whenever it was, and I watched it and I felt nothing to it really. It just looked like a film that was coming out, a film that happened to be crammed with references and nostalgic stuff. And it didn't really look like it was gonna do much for me. But it then said directed by Steven Spielberg, and I'll watch anything he does. So I was obviously going to see it, but didn't really have any expectations. So going into it low, maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much as I did. But I was surprised at how much I really took to it. I really, really enjoyed it, and I haven't read the source material that this is based on. It's based on a novel by Ernest Cline, I believe. But I might have just said the wrong name. Pretty sure it's Ernest Cline. But yeah, he wrote the novel Ready Player One like 7 years ago, and apparently it got the rights to be made into a film before it was even published or something like that, which is baffling to me. Can it really be that good as a novel? I've heard very mixed things, but this isn't about the novel, it's about the film. And it's basically the story of a kid who's living in the future in these slums, and everyone is connected in this virtual environment called the Oasis. You pop your head on, your headset on. Everyone has got heads in this world. Don't worry, it's not some bloody decapitated apocalypse where no one's got heads. That would be utterly terrifying. I meant headset. He put his headset on, like a VR headset, and it puts you into this world called the Oasis, and everyone's their own character. You can be what you want to be. You can do what you want to do. And essentially the premise of the film is that there is a guy who made the Oasis way back when, who passes away, and he leaves these clues because he wants to leave one final quest for whoever wants to take part in it. And if they win it, they get the what's it called? They get the rights. It's not the rights. They get like the keys to the Oasis, as it were. They become the new owners. That's what I was trying to say there, of the Oasis. And so we follow characters as they're going through this quest, trying to find out whether they can win it and become the new owner of the Oasis. It's kind of like Spy Kids in a weird... very much like Spy Kids, but better. I may have upset some people, some weird corner of the internet that adores Spy Kids. But no, it's a really weird and strange film in that there's a lot of things in it which I can't sit here and deny are problems with it. I've seen a whole lot of people online bashing it for essentially being absolutely rammed to the edges with references to 80s games, pop culture, films, nostalgia, and I think that's a very prominent part of, in quotation marks, film criticism online at the moment. Everyone seems to be past that whole nostalgia thing, and it's now become the thing to bash things for, which I think has got some weight to it. I'm not going to stand here and say people are wrong or right on that front. But, you know, I'm a bit of a defender of it in this film. I don't think this film is just references for the sake of references. I think that's a very simple way of looking at it. You may look at it that way, and I was expecting to look at it that way, but I actually ended up warming to it quite a lot, and I think what it's saved from in that sense is the fact that we've got a director like Spielberg at the helm here. I feel like this film has the potential to have been a truly bottom-of-the-barrel, mind-scrapingly annoying film in the hands of a worse director. But Spielberg brings this charm to it, which Spielberg always does, and it reminds me of Hook-era Spielberg. It's something I've also seen a lot of other people saying as a negative of the film, depending on how you feel about Hook. I love Hook. I love that film, warts and all. I don't care if people want to shit on it. I adore that film. And that's the kind of style Spielberg we're dealing with here. It's incredibly cliche at points, doesn't shy away from the cheese, but you guys know at this point that I don't mind cheese and cliche in films if it's handled well. I actually think this is an example of it being handled well. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. It was a really fun film. I can't sit here and say I wasn't entertained, because I was. It's a sort of film you've got to see in the cinema. I can't imagine I'd have had the same response to it if I'd seen it first time at home on a TV screen, but I really enjoyed what I was looking at visually. It starts off quite near the beginning. There's this big old race sequence, which I loved that sequence. That whole sequence was just, everything aside, just visually amazing to look at, and it hooked me in. And right from there, I was like, you know what? This is a fun film. I'm really enjoying myself here. And it kind of doesn't really reach the heights of that race sequences for the rest of the film. There are other action set pieces that are very fun, very visually appealing, but I really enjoyed that race sequence. It got me in from the get-go, and then it hooked me in from there. And I really enjoyed the performances from the characters we've got in this film as well. I mean, the lead character played by Ty Sheridan, I think it's Ty Sheridan, he does a good job. He doesn't do anything amazing. He's not particularly terrible. But I enjoyed watching him in the lead role, and I enjoyed watching him go through this adventure, so it did that for me. But I have to say, Olivia Cooke, on the other hand, is amazing in everything she's in. I adore that woman as an actress. She's amazing. So her in it was incredible as well. And I thought she was really good with Ty Sheridan. I've seen some people bashing their relationship in the film. I actually thought it was the strongest part of the film, and I don't know if I would have enjoyed this film as much if it didn't have Olivia Cooke being as good as Olivia Cooke is in this side relationship with Ty Sheridan's character. I thought they worked really well together. I enjoyed watching their relationship evolve, and it's one of the things that got me so sucked into the kind of adventure quest side of this film, which is a big part of the film, this hunt for these clues to find out what's going to be the next thing you've got to go for. And that's a big problem you can come across in films like this, where it's like, oh, we've got to find these clues, and the clues will lead to the next one, and the next one, then we'll get to the end. I don't know about you guys, but I always find that when films start to set that thing up, I'm like, okay, it may go down the route of the clues being so obvious that surely everyone will get this, or there's the risk that it goes down the route where the clues are so goddamn obscure, you just don't believe any of the characters would ever put this shit together. So you get that tendency to feel like stuff is just happening and they're clicking things together for the sake of plot and moving it forward. And you can argue that is kind of the case here, but I don't actually think it is. I thought the film did a very good job of handling how they work out the clues, work out what's next, and a very inventive job with the clues. There's one sequence in the middle where they go into a film. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but it's about a 15-20 minute sequence on the hunt for these clues in a film, and it was fantastically executed. That's probably one of my favorite sequences in the film, and it's moments like that where this film really, really did shine, and I was having one hell of a time. I was really, really enjoying myself with it. But then it also does kind of tip into the side of, you know, when you have a film that's set in like a virtual reality like this, or set in some kind of, I guess, a younger culture with like gamers and stuff, but it's clearly written by someone that's older, and you get the tendency to have like dialogue or moments or things that are explored where it's very clearly someone that doesn't really know what it is trying to tell you what it is, if that makes much sense. So you get lines in this film like people calling other people noobs. I think at one point the lead character calls, like, I think it was his mum or his dad in an argument, he calls her a noob. And I was like, that's just not how anyone talks ever in the real life. You could argue some people do, and some gamers do, but no one in that situation, when you're having a deep argument with your parents, calls them a noob. Do they really? No one's going to argue that for sure. I mean, if you're a parent and your kid comes back and you're having a very heated argument and they turn around and call you a noob, get new kids. Don't get new kids, but if I was a parent and my kid turned around and called me a noob, I genuinely don't know how I'd react, but I would probably leave the house and never talk to them again. That was extreme. You know what I mean, though? People don't actually call people noobs in real life. People do in games, so in the games maybe, but you don't bring that shit into real life. So there are moments like that where you're like, okay, this is sucking me out of the film because I'm very aware that this is being written by someone that thinks they're down with the gaming lingo but doesn't really get it. And there's also a point in the film, not to spoil anything, there's a big plot point where they have to hack into something, hack into a bad guy's thing with a password. And the password is legitimately, I shit you not, the password in the film, unironically, it's not a joke. They don't really make a joke out of it or laugh at the fact that it is this. It just is this. The password is Bossman69, but like the S's are 5s and the O's are 0, and it's, yeah. And genuinely, it drops it. It looks at it in the film the first time, and the characters are deadly serious in a moment. They're like, oh, this this password. Oh, it's Bossman69. We're gonna have to do it. And not a hint of irony in it. And I cannot be the only one that was taken out of the film at that exact moment. I just thought to myself, what? You know, like, this is the thing that's happening in a film. Okay. I kind of admire the film just went for it. But at the same time, I don't. So yeah, there's stuff like that in the film, which kind of sucked me out, and my biggest flaws with it, the dialogue and certain moments where you're very clearly being talked to like some old guy that thinks they're down with the kids and they're hip with the lingo, but really they're just saying like, noob, oh, we're going to replace letters with numbers, and that makes me cool. Yeah, that's the biggest problem I have with it. But it actually is a testament to how good Spielberg is a director, that the longer it goes through this film and the more things that seem to pile up like that in this film that should be big red alarms, big red flags coming up to me going, nope, turn it off, don't enjoy this film, you're not having a good time. The more those things happen, the more I kind of found myself getting sucked into the film. And by the end of this film, yeah, I was just having a really fun time. It's a very fun film. That's all I can say about it. And actually, when I finished it, I was like, I could happily go back and watch that. And I think I probably will go and see it again. I enjoyed it enough to go see it a second time. I enjoyed the relationships in the film. I enjoyed the mystery side of the whole adventure quest to get to the end goal in this film. I thought that was executed very well. I do have to say that it's kind of, you can almost split it into two halves. There was always going to be a bit in the film where you've got enough of that mystery, search for the clues, and now it needs to move on to the next part of the story. And there's a little bit of a transition period there between them moving on from, you know, searching for these clues and working out what's going on there to the kind of end game, the climax of the film. The transition period there, it does dull a little bit for me, I think, but I really enjoyed the end of the film. It does get incredibly cheesy and cliche at the end. The very final, like, 10 minutes of this film are pure Spielberg cheese, you know, like people just coming up to him and be like, you did it. And like, oh, yeah, man, we saved the day. And what did we learn? Oh, we learned to always be, you know, there's that sort of style. But I didn't mind it. And I think that's the important thing to remember. It's all in context in the film that these cliche, cheesy moments are in. And in the context of this film, I didn't mind it. So yeah, Ready Player One, I had a really good time with. Surprised to say it. Sense of surprise in my voice, because I did not expect to enjoy this one as much as I did. But I had a really good time with it. I'm true.